Wow, is that good? That's it. Oh, excuse me. You, this is the video log of jeffandrus.com. I'm Mr.com. Excuse me, I was reading something really exciting. This is about a week left before Christmas. And something happened yesterday that sort of touched off a whole string of things that I'm going to talk about today. One is I got a nice note from someone I don't know in France. It was a nice note, and I was asked in it, did I speak any other language besides English? And the really simple answer is yes. I mumble. Otherwise, all other languages are, knock ein Bier, por favor, taco, bitte. That was a nice note. That kind of made the day nice. Then I got like a really vicious hate mail. It suggested that I was maybe not very manly, not very butch. I was thinking, because of that note, what is it with me and gay men? Because in every stage of my life, I realized that there was at least one gay friend or friends that I had. Now, like a great pal in college was, he told me he was gay. And then he told me something else, which is, he said, why do you think they call me queer? I said, I don't know. He said, because I am. And it took me years to figure out what that meant. And it took me being a Christian to sort of put it in a context that that helped me understand it. I think what he was saying is that something felt broken, was wounded, was dysfunctional, disordered inside. And you can say the same thing about every heterosexual you know. Now let's cut to not too long ago when I was asked to be part of a seminar in which people were discussing the question, if one is if God created one gay, then shouldn't one be able to enjoy gay sex? That was one side. The other side was, no, the gays are supposed to be celibate. Well, I didn't go, because the premise is absolutely wrong. God did not create people gay. He created them perfect. If you look at Genesis, it says, male and female, he created them. He created them in his own image. Something like that. That's my paraphrase. And then you cut to the 5th chapter. That's the 1st chapter. You go to the 5th chapter of Genesis. And Adam and Eve are having their first children. And it says, those children are in the image of man. Now, something happened between being the image of God and being in the image of man. And that's the whole story of the fall of man, fall of nature. So all of us, heterosexual or homosexual, have something broken inside that needs to be fixed. God, of course, his solution is, and what he's in the business of doing, is restoring us to that perfect state that we were before. And he does that through the sacrifice and power of his Son, Jesus Christ. Jesus died on the cross for our mistakes, our making wrong choices, our going with our brokenness, Anyway, that's the best way I heard this put, I think, in terms of gays, was a vineyard pastor in Lancaster, California, which is in the high desert outside of Los Angeles. And he had a congregation in which there was a young man, a handsome, wholesome-looking guy. But the surprise was, this kid had been in jail. He was out of a halfway house for prisoners. And he'd also been a meth head. And, that usually just tears you apart. But he looked good. And after a while, he came up to the pastor and he said, I'm thinking about, I'd like to really be a Christian, maybe join this church. And the pastor said, well, you'd be welcome. He said, well, you don't understand. I'm gay. And without missing a beat, the pastor said, look, at the Christian ideal is heterosexual monogamy. But people on that train, at any given moment, one way or another, want to jump off. Some do and never get back on. Some do and get back on, and the grace of God, they're allowed back on. Others don't, and they sort of kind of resent it. It's a hard thing. There's a Father John Karapi who talks about homosexuality as being somewhat like being a priest, like he is. He's a heterosexual, but he's taken a vow of chastity, and that's what he says that gays have to do. They can't practice because the only sex that is authorized in the Bible is marital sex. So everything outside of that is a no-no. And it's not like a no-no, like you can't have fun. It's like a no-no is like, here are certain rules of how you're made. These are certain parameters in which you are going to be the happiest. As a perfect human being, this is the way it should be. Now, the way it should be and the way it is obviously different. When I was a Protestant, in various churches, and you'd have the same thing in each of them. Once a year, a pastor would get up and give what I call the zipper up sermon. And blushing and farting, he'd basically say that extramarital sex was wrong and that his congregation shouldn't engage in it. And what you had is you had a lot of the young people were already, they were already outside the church. They had a place picked out in the bushes, because anybody who's engaged in sex of some kind, knows that it's really hard to stop. Doesn't mean it's impossible. God never said it was going to be easy. But those are the ideals we're searching for. I'm thinking, why? Okay, besides this hate mail that suggested that I was, less than manly, why am I talking about this today? Well, today the Congress is going to vote on the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell in our military. It's a bad idea, but I can't affect the secular world. I think, the whole idea of gay sex is bad for society. Society will do what it's going to do. It's in an active state of rebellion. Most of us are in rebellion, just don't know it. But that's why some evangelicals will talk about how abortion is, like passé, and we shouldn't focus on that. And gay sex is passé, and so they're wrong. God is a God of mercy, of course, but also of holiness. And when He sets up the rules, like the laws of gravity, He doesn't take any delight in you breaking them. But if you go for a cliff and jump off, it's like, verily I say to you, you will be dashed to death. Does He laugh about that? No, I think He's very sad. Anyway, so I was thinking about that. I've been in situations, both among homosexuals and heterosexuals, in which there's been fraternization. And usually companies have policies against it, and there's a very good reason. Because you can't help but show favoritism to someone you're in bed with. And if you're in love with that person and you're in the office and something like that, it's very, very disruptive. And I think that would also be true in the military. So to me, it would be wise to keep the policy, but no one's asking me. People do ask me, though, in case you're curious, because since it's so close to Christmas, what should you get someone you care about? It's over. Watch the eye wander. Okay, it's over here. In a cold climate, that's good. If you're engaged in extramarital sex, I don't see that this book is going to help you stop it. But if you're not, this is a while away, a couple of lonely nights in bed. It's nice. This would be. There was a German girl who once talked about how she loved winter because the hand warmers. Goethe was suicidal during the winter. And then we have that, heated socks. You could get that. If you live in a cold climate, just batteries are not included. They keep your feet toasty. That's it. Have a happy New Year and a Merry Christmas and whatever. Have a great. I don't know when Ramadan is. That always sounds like some kind of top ramen. That sounds like a religion, and Ramadan sounds like a food product. And happy Hanukkah. have a menorah. But always remember that God's watching and He does have ways to best live your life. God bless. Bye bye.